It's definitely good news, Allison. This was a great scene about a half hour ago at the vet's office here in Fredericksburg. Dux, the dog, was taken out of the hospital, taken by a police motorcade back home. You know, Dux suffered critical injuries after being shot during a shootout Sunday night. He had a bullet lodged inside of him, but now he is safely heading home. Here is that video from Fredericksburg in the last half hour or so. An emotional scene. You saw people watching Dux, the dog, leave the hospital. They stayed quiet, didn't want to alarm or frighten the dog. He is placed into a police vehicle there, and supporters ended up cheering as he got inside the vehicle. Now, this all follows the arrest last night of 34-year-old Joseph Conway. He was on the run following that shootout Sunday night. Spotsylvania County Sheriff's deputies pulled over a vehicle for a traffic infraction. Now, Conway was a passenger. Authorities say he had an altercation with one of the deputies and then took off on foot, firing shots at the deputies back as they fired at him as well. One of Conway's bullets, according to authorities, hit Dux, the dog. Authorities got information in that 24 hours that followed that Conway was hiding out in a room in a Motel 6 hotel near the airport in Richmond. Local and federal authorities took him into custody without incident last night. Dux, the dog, meanwhile, endured successful surgery, and his law enforcement family is happy he's okay.
Dux did his job. That's what he's trained to do. Dux took a bullet that possibly saved the life of a law enforcement officer.
Now, inside that hotel room, Joseph Conway was found with a bullet wound to his leg. He was treated. He is now in custody without bond. He is facing multiple charges, including capital attempted murder on a law enforcement officer. More charges sure to follow. But obviously, the good news here today is that Dux, the dog, is okay and he's headed home. Live in Fredericksburg, Jeff Goldberg, ABC 7 News.
All right, that's great news. Something tells me that when he's back 100% can eat solids, steak dinners for a little while.
Deserves it. All right. Well, things are very, very busy in the Weather Center today. What's the newest information?
Well, the newest information is the track has been adjusted a little farther to the west, meaning that very close contact or landfall somewhere through Florida, Georgia, South Carolina coast is becoming a bit more likely.
Okay.
Also a bit more likely it will have an effect on our area over the weekend. Probably gusty winds and rain, but the profound effects we think will be really mostly in the coastline areas, including Maryland and Virginia, if it stays on its current track. But we see little variations and wobbles here and there, so just stay with us here because we're a few days away, but it could definitely affect your weekend plans, especially the closer to the coast you are. Latest satellite image showing the center of circulation now. It's almost clear of the eastern tip of eastern Cuba, and that will mean that the center of circulation will be unobstructed over water here, and for the next as far as the eye can see, it'll be over water, with the exception of going over some of the Bahama Islands, which don't offer much in the way of any resistance. As far as the circulation and the wind speed and all the essential elements right now, 140-mile-per-hour sustained winds gusting to 165. The pressure 949 millibars. That's a little higher than it was yesterday, but we think it's possible it could stay there or even drop a little bit, get a little more intense. It's moving to the north at 9. It will pick up speed and make a little more of a turn to the northwest over the next few days. Now, we stopped it here just off the coast of Jacksonville, 2 p.m. Friday. Still a Category 3 hurricane with sustained winds well over 110 miles per hour. And at this place, if it is literally that close to the coast, that means hurricane force winds will be in the Jacksonville area, all the way through that region, down as far maybe as Cape Kennedy and some other Cape Canaveral, that same area. And then we extended a couple more days, and according to the latest track, it's going to come right along the coast, very close to Myrtle Beach and just offshore Wilmington, and then it will make a track to the northeast. So on this particular, if we hold the center line, even though that's not the official place it's going to go, it's a good guide point, and with that, it'll get very close to Virginia Beach, Maryland, Delaware, and Jersey shores, meaning they could have hurricane conditions as still a Hurricane 2 storm. So a lot to watch. That's all going to be locally Saturday and Saturday night. That's when the biggest winds and rain squalls will be. The hurricane warning across Central and South Florida has been extended almost to the Miami area, into the Miami-Dade area, but not to the city quite of Miami, and then a hurricane watch in effect farther south through most of the Florida Keys. Spaghetti models are popular to see. Don't know they do you a lot of good because they're so colorful and so widespread, but what we look for is consistency and some sort of an agreement. And certainly you can see this developing with the agreement. And again, just kind of take the center line as an example. curves it up the coast and continues it northward. We have a couple outliers kind of curving it, other ones taking out, but generally for now, we think somewhere in this area where they're clustered is probably more than likely where it's going to go as it travels out over the next several days. We've been tracking the European and American model, known as the GFS. They've been radically different yesterday. Today, not so much radically initially, but look what happens over the next several days. The Euro actually takes it as far north as Charleston or Wilmington and turns it south, while the GFS takes it out in the North Atlantic. That's one of the perils of trying to forecast too far in advance. We also have a tropical storm, Nicole, out in the Atlantic Ocean off to the east. This one does one of those little do-si-dos and turns around and comes south and west. There could be some atmospheric interaction between the two. So this is far from settled science right now as far as where it's going to go over the next couple days. And of course, the farther out in time you go, the more likely there's going to be an error as far as where the center of the system goes. And that's why the Hurricane Center preaches all the time, don't follow the center line as your exact gospel course, because it could go either side. And a storm that has 60-mile wide hurricane